Hell equals missing the boat. God doesn't really intervene to punish mankind very often. We love to think that he does, for instance that lightning will strike the blasphemer. The more I read the scriptures, the more I see there is a big difference between active divine punishment, which is rare, and mankind simply missing the boat. The most common punishment we get comes from the natural consequences of our choices, not from the wrath of God. In that sense, the commandments are like God telling us, hey, that bridge is really rickety. Try a different way, or you'll fall into the river. Or in more modern terms, there's a big accident on the freeway. Take the belt route if you want to get to your meeting on time. Neither the traffic nor the river is the wrath of God. They just exist. They will affect us differently, depending on what we know about them and what we choose to do about them. God equals Google Maps. I know people who would join that church. This theme of divine punishment really being our own missing the boat is all over the scriptures, including the Book of Mormon. We need to look a little deeper since it isn't as flashy as the fire and brimstone parts, but it is there. In Mosiah, King Benjamin gives an epic speech to his people. But before that he teaches his sons directly, Yea, I say unto you that if this highly favored people of the Lord should fall into transgression and become a wicked and an adulterous people, that the Lord will deliver them up. Mosiah 1:13. At this point we might think that he's talking about wrath. Deliver them up sounds a lot like a punishment. But then he says that thereby they, the people who failed to keep the commandments, become weak like unto their brethren. Mosiah 1:13. Wait. Deliver them up just means leaving them alone. King Benjamin keeps going, and God will no more preserve them by his matchless and marvelous power as he has hitherto preserved our fathers. Mosiah 1:13. The punishment for wickedness was withdrawal of protection, removing the blessings. The result is that they were left to the natural consequences, which weren't great. King Benjamin gets specific with what the alternative would have been. For I say unto you that if God had not extended his arm in the preservation of our fathers, they must have fallen into the hands of the Lamanites and become victims to their hatred. Mosiah 1:14. The biggest punishment we will likely face in this life is simply missing out on the ridiculously huge blessings that God has promised us. Even the burning flames of hell will probably be self-inflicted as we realize how nice things could have been if we had just listened and obeyed. King Benjamin hits this point home to his people. And now, my brethren, I would that ye should do as ye have hitherto done. As ye have kept my commandments and also the commandments of my father, and have prospered, and have been kept from falling into the hands of your enemies, even so if ye shall keep the commandments of my son or the commandments of God which shall be delivered unto you by him, ye shall prosper in the land, and your enemies shall have no power over you. Mosiah 2:31. The closer we look at the scriptures, the clearer the picture we get that God is much more a loving father than a vengeful, disconnected deity. We find that even in our greatest pain, his loving arms are stretched out toward us. He is much more focused on guiding us to natural prosperity than zapping us with lightning bolts. If he had put a big warning sign by the pit into which we fell while staring at our phone, it would be stupid to blame God for our predicament. Yet so many do. God's greatest punishment, the hell that so many fear, is really just missing the boat. Therefore we with Nephi can look into the unknown questions and struggles of our lives and answer with what we do confidently know. I know that God loveth his children, nevertheless I do not know the meaning of all things. 1 Nephi chapter 11 verse 17.